welcome all to the Insights World Tour. We are now spending a little bit of time this evening for some of you and this morning for some of us in India. Let me remind you a little bit about what the Insights World Tour is. Remember, by design, this is meant to be a small, limited capacity online live event in which you as someone who's joining us gets a chance to actually interact through video rather than through the standard webinar content. However, during this period of time, we'd ask while the presenter is speaking, if you can stay muted and off video. Once we finish that presentation, we'll absolutely have you join in and join us in the discussion. So there's lots of reasons to do this, and hopefully you will see that there'll be a rich discussion thereafter. Also a reminder that we still have a few more days of these events happening. So take a look and see what's remaining. If something else is of interest to you, I certainly urge you to sign up. There's still some spaces available for these smaller group sessions to join us going forward. But without further ado, as is always, it's a pleasure, quite an honor to introduce a friend and colleague, Professor Rajashekaran, who is the chairman of the Department of Orthopedic and Spine Surgery at the Ganga Hospital. He is known to most of you, if not all of you who are attending. And I thought it would be more than appropriate for him to speak about really the broader questions that all of us strive to do. So I'm looking forward to learning about the 5 tips for professional excellence. Raja.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohit. So let me share the screen, and thank you for giving this opportunity. So as we discussed before, I would talk about one specific aspect of a challenge for professional excellence. That is how to strike a perfect work-life balance. Now, as an young surgeon, all of us are looking at professional excellence. And I think one of the biggest conflict or an obstacle that comes in our way frequently is the challenge of this work-life balance. Now, why should this be actually a challenge? If you look at the Google, there are 22 million hits on this. So it's obvious that it's a big problem for most of us. I think the conflict is because the word balance. Because when you're talking of balance, it automatically gives in your mind a thought process that you're trying to balance between 2 opposite things. And that gives a feeling in the young people mind that work is different and life is different. And also there are so many things like this on the WhatsApp that when you're finishing your work on Friday and going home, this is the buoyancy that you feel in your mind. You feel so elated and you feel so good. And if it's a Monday morning and you're going to work, and this is what you feel like. You know, these are really nice to see. These are quite enjoyable. These are pretty humorous, but it just leaves in your mind a feeling that work is bad and life is very good. But this is something that we can't have it if we have to survive. Now, if you ask anybody who has been successful, anybody who has achieved something really hard, they have not done it without hard work. It may be tennis and Federer, or cricket and Virat Kohli, or Apple and Steve Jobs, or even a brilliant surgeon who's really good. Let's take Mohit, for example. I mean, you can't do anything without hard work. But the thing why people feel very bad about hard work, even though you need it to achieve anything substantial, is frequently we get a big confusion between hard work and stress. I think it's very critical of all the young surgeons to know that these two are something so different, like North Pole and South Pole. Because hard work has not killed anybody, but stress has killed a lot of people. Now, when does a profession become just work? That's also very important. When do you start feeling that you're not a professional, but you're just a worker? That becomes when you think you're doing this for a living and there is no passion in what you're doing. It also happens when you think that you're working for someone else. You may be a doctor, if you're a pediatrician or an orthopedic surgeon, and you are doing it for yourself, for the love of orthopedics. That's quite different from thinking, I am just working for this hospital or for this health service. You make that split in your mind, and then your work is no longer very interesting. And when there is monotony and fatigue in your work, if you're just doing the same thing every day, every week, every month, every year, for years on together, and you have not done anything new for the last few years, then of course, then your profession becomes just work. Stress is something when there is poor performance in your work, when you are not doing up to what is expected out of you, when you are not prepared yourself, when you are continuously doing underperformance, then you get highly stressed. And then when there is an aspiration performance gap, you need to be clear about what is your goal and are you willing to put up that much work for you to achieve that goal. When you want to go this high, but you're only willing to work to be this high, and then there is a big problem. There is a big gap between your aspirations and performance, and then there is a lot of stress. You need to put passion into your work. And then when you're doing something where you are really interested, I just call vitamin P, that is for passion. And that has to be a little more important, and that has to fill you up more than vitamin M, which is money. So when you're passionate about what you're doing, working 15 hours on something which you're passionate about will not be stressful. But even working just 15 minutes on something that you don't like will be stressful. So day in and day out, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if what you're doing is stressful for you, then you need to be sure, you need to evaluate yourself. You need to introspect whether you're doing what you are really meant to be doing and what you're doing. So this is something that we have all seen and read many times, but it just needs to be reinforced in our mind. Love the job you do and you never have to work another day in your life. This is so, so important. So you need to be ready to make sacrifices. You need to be ready to do a lot of hard work. You need to burn a lot of midnight oil. I just asked one of the very famous surgeons one day, what is the secret of your success? And he said, in very simply, it just took me a little time for me to understand. He said, very rarely I have slept on the same day that I have got up. So it just took me a few seconds to understand what you're saying. That means he was always working beyond the midnight. So all these kinds of work is necessary, but we also need to be sure that we are doing something. We are not getting out of our friends. We are not neglecting our families. We are not neglecting people whom we love. We are not neglecting our health. And they put this as the 5 important balls. Work is a rubber ball. You let it go for some time, it will bounce back. You can get it back. You can work harder after some time and get it back. But if you let down your spirit, if you let down your buoyancy of mind, if you let go of your friends, if something happens in your family or you devastate your health, these are all glass balls which, if broken once, may not be with you again. So you need to do a good, proper balancing act for this. And you need to spend quality time. It's not the quantity. If you finish your work early, go home and sit in front of the TV and start watching cricket without talking to your wife, without playing to your son or daughter, that doesn't mean good. So this is one important person who is going to make a material difference in your life. I always say that work-life balance is actually work-wife balance. If you can share your dreams, if you can share your ambitions with your wife, and you get her as a whole family, and together you're thinking of what you're doing. Every day you can share your work, your ideas, and your ambitions with them, your achievements and your disappointments with your wife and the family, then there is no struggle for work and life. But you need to find a balance and you need to find your own orbit. Everybody is completely different. What is possible for one person may not be possible for another person. So you need to decide on what orbit you are going to play. Are you wanting to play in the national scene? Or are you wanting to play in the international scene? And once you decide the orbit, then you must be willing to put that amount of work for that. You should not have a disappointment on that. Similarly, happiness is a very individual thing. If you are unhappy, don't blame it on your work, because unhappy people, I have found, I have so many people working with me for so many years. I have found unhappy people are unhappy, happy people are happy, even in the best of the days when there is a lot of work. So if something is irking your mind, if it's something is worrying you, it's not allowing you to be happy, rather than just pinpointing at work, just get into the root of the problem of what you have to do. So just like work and life perceptions vary between all of us, work and life and how much you work, how much of stress you can take also varies between a lot of us. So this is one of my favorite cartoons. So he says, we only live once, Snoopy, but Snoopy actually corrects him and says, it's wrong. We only die once, we live every day. So if we remember that and we make each one of our days really very productive, really interesting, really passionate about what we are doing, we need to die only once. All the other days, rest of the days in your life, we can keep living together. So that's a short. I just wanted to put this as an introduction to what we need to discuss about work-life balance, because there are very young, lots of young people whom I know they are struggling with this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, let me first of all thank you for that. Gives us lots of places to go with this, and I wonder if you might introduce a few of your other panelists, Raja,
Yeah.
and
So,
everyone, please come on video. For those of you who are willing and comfortable, please join us on video, and we'll have a nice discussion here.
so I know I have Dr. Jamal Ashraf over here from Lucknow. He doesn't need much introduction because he is one person who's really working hard, who's full of life, and so he has managed both in very big quantity and he has managed very well. He is also the secretary of the Asia Pacific Orthopedic Association. So it's nice that he found time to join us. And I also know that I have my own spine fellow, Dr. Dilip Chand Raja, also with us. So, you know, he is working in a very busy unit, and working with a person like me, he always gets loaded with lots of stuff and lots of work. And I know for sure that that is a struggle in him for work and life. So these are the two people. Now I recognize a lot of faces over here. So
Okay,
I'm
good.
very happy that if everybody can join
Yes,
us.
please. Yeah. So again, for those of you who have ability, join us on video. We'll continue on. But let me, if I could, Raja, just get Jamal, your take on what you just heard from Raja. Does this resonate with you, and what other caveats do you bring to this story? And we'll need you to unmute. Yeah.
Probably the people who actually have work-life balance in their life, they're never looking for it. They don't even know that there something like this exists, and they're just happy with how they're. And it's the dissatisfied people who are the 22 million people that boss just mentioned, who go on searching for what work-life balance is on Google. So it's your unhappiness with what you have that you start searching for something which you want to find out what you don't have.
Well, let me ask this, if I can bring you into this as well, Dilip. So you are working with some icons, and you're working, I'm sure, very hard, and you're seeing many people model various different things. When you're training, and I've been there not that long ago too, when you think about life, you think, you know what, I have to be good at scholarship. I have to be an excellent surgeon. I have to be working towards leadership. How do you balance all that? Or do you realize at some point, Dilip, that as a trainee that you can't be all things? And then what do you do at that point?
So one thing what I wanted to share is I always envy my professor and mentor's achievements, what he has done so far. So trying to keep in pace, it's not possible. I don't think it's possible for me. But whatever given, I would like to achieve some things for which I have set some short time goals. What I'm finding it difficult is balance between physical hard work and the academic work. So by the time in a busy unit like what I work with professor is complete, what I'm finding it difficult is to get out of the physical tiredness and get into the academic work. So no, now if I want to stay back in the hospital and work for it, now I'm missing family time. So sometimes I find it guilty of having not spent much time with my 3-year-old son, which I feel at this point of my career or his age, uh, that is, I feel he deserves that period of time. But at the same time, I'm also finding it very guilty for the fact that I have not committed enough time to my work. So that's a hard part for me.
So let me then ask Raja, and please, anybody else who has some comments to share, please join us. But Raja, when you have a trainee, how do you help them find balance? Because so much of it is that if they don't see balance in their mentors, it's hard for us then to, demonstrate. We almost have to walk the walk. So how is it that you help these trainees, or how can we help them?
Okay, so Mohit, I think this balance is not walking on a tightrope where you have to stay just on the rope. I think this is the most important thing. If there is one message I would like to give, two messages. One is differentiate between work and stress. And second is balance is not just like that thin strip. In life, you have to be continuously unbalanced, off balance by your own decision and planning. But you don't go too much off balance, but you come. So if you are a young surgeon and you're just recently married, you need to be slightly off balance towards life. You need to be spending more time with your wife, have some dinners, go for some holidays. And then if you're getting your exams and your residency is coming to an end, you need to get off balance towards your profession, studies, exams and everything. Your wife is pregnant, she's getting delivered, or you're becoming a father, and again off balance a little bit towards home. So it's very important that young surgeons must realize that it is not always 50% life and 50% work. You need to be 20% this side, 20% that side, but there is a balance line, but you continuously keep moving this side and that side. Second thing is you need to have good mentors when you're young who will guide you properly around this. And for a young surgeon, I also think it's so vital whom they are surrounded with. If you are having a group of people who from morning to night who are cribbing about work, who are cribbing about doing this, that, your mentality is switched off to another bandwidth where you start seeing everything in a negative way. If you are surrounded with people who are very positive, who are achieving things, who are becoming successful, and who are looking at things in a very positive way, then your bandwidth completely gets altered to that. So I like your quotation once. I mean, you are the sum average of the 5 persons with whom you are always with. So you need to be really careful who are that 5 persons who are with you. So, have good mentorship, spend quality time, not quantity time at home, and have good, surround yourself with positive people who are all working hard, and then it doesn't look like hard work.
Well, I mean, all very sage points of advice. Anyone have a comment on what you've heard, or anyone experiencing some challenges when because we always say you should do these things. And I think it's really makes a lot of sense that you can't be doing everything every day. And there are going to be periods in your life where you'll be prioritizing different aspects. Sometimes we're not felt to believe we can do that. But I wonder if anyone else has had experiences that you wanted to share. And, oh yes, please, Dr. Desai.
So I think, as Raja said, the bigger the orbit you travel, I think the bigger the challenge is, especially with time to manage all the glass balls that he has said. And I think at some stage, I think it's always a reflective afterthought, but some stage you always lose out on something. So it's impossible to balance, I think, all of these very, very well as higher the orbit you travel. And this is, I'm saying, from a decade of experience of working with AO.
Yeah, right. And so
at that stage, you have to prioritize.
Absolutely.
You need to say no. Things.
And let me ask you this: Can you do the following? Can you be an exceptional leader, an exceptional academic, an exceptional clinician, and still be able to say that I have enough personal time with my family and my friends to grow personally. You know, we always have these kind of rules
It's
saying, well,
impossible.
you can't do it all, right? So then at what point, how do you help mentor people, for those of you who've done it, or if you're someone early on in your career thinking about, well, I keep feeling like I should be the best at everything, but I realize that's not feasible. How do we make that internal decision then to focus? And how do we decide on, you know, what we're going to spend our time and energy on?
So you're asking me, Mohit?
Yeah, sure. And anyone else who feels they want to contribute. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mohit, I'm not sure whether I'm an exceptional clinician or a doctor or a surgeon and administrator, but you know, I have no qualms of the time that I have spent with my family and the type of family life I have had. I think there's only one critical difference in that. Your family members, including your children, it's not just your wife, but your children too, as they grow up, they need to understand what you're doing, why you are doing, and they need to be resonating very well with your profession. It's very important. I get very aghast when I see some of my friends in front of their children, they will say, oh, this medical life is a dog's life. You know, I'm working too hard. We are working too hard. It's not worth it. And I feel very sad because I learned the beauty of having how to be a good, how to sacrifice or how to do hard work and still enjoy life from my father. And never one day, even when he was working harder than me, he has never one day complained of hard work at home. So we always thought it's nice. You have to be purposeful in what you're doing. And what is important is it's not like you go early and come very late and don't talk about it. You need to even talk to your children about what you're doing. So suppose you did a very hard surgery, and when my children were in school or college, we always used to discuss about this, and that makes them very interested, and they think that you should be doing that. Actually, after one of these big discussions, one day when my daughter was in, I think, first year of college or something, I asked her, would you have felt better if I am coming home at evening 6 o'clock? So the first question she asked was, for what purpose? I'm doing my studies from 6 o'clock to 8:30, 8:30. So why would you want to come home at 6? Well, if you want to come, come. But from 8:30 to 9, we are always having dinner together and we are sharing a lot of things. So why do you need to come home at 6? And I know you're doing some useful work, curing somebody. If we were sitting in a club and drinking, then maybe I would have thought you should have come at 6 o'clock. But I know you're doing a purposeful life. So you need to give the perception, make your family understand the importance of what you're doing. I think it's very, very critically important. That makes the difference between success
That's
and
a very good point. I wonder if I could also engage some of our, maybe some individuals who are earlier on in their careers or mid-career, thinking about some of these challenges. I see you, Yad. I see Anna here as well. I know you had chatted a bit about what it means, but you know, if you don't feel pressure to comment, but if any of this resonates, we'd love to hear from you on your perspectives as well, as you start thinking about it, because here we are talking from the other side, trying to help. But if there are challenges you have, we'd love to hear them. Maybe Yad, I see you've unmuted. Maybe you might have something you want to say.
Thanks. It's a great talk so far, so thank you very much. One thing I just wanted to hone in on was our definition of exceptional, right? So I think we individually have to really dig deep as to what that definition is and what does it mean to be exceptional? And then the other thing is also knowing that the exceptional moments may come at different parts of our lives. So I may be an exceptional clinician right now, and in 10 years from now, I'll be an exceptional researcher. If that means that I can prioritize all of the different, glass and plastic balls or rubber balls in my life and make sure everything fits really well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you are echoing exactly what sort of that lecture point was, that we can't always be all things all the time, but that's helpful. Thank you. Jamal.
Yeah, I mean, I am assuming that majority of the audience is surgeons or clinicians, right? So first and foremost, what I can tell you, the youngsters, is if you're looking for work-life balance, look up to a mentor of your profession. Don't go looking on the internet and trying to read about work-life balance, because the stuff that is written on there is just not implementable in your profession. If you go on to the psychology theories of work-life balance, they will tell you don't work at more than 3 hours at a stretch. They will tell you you have to have short breaks. They will tell you that there is a difference between success and aspirations, because it's a psychology that they're trying to work at. As a surgeon, someone wants to train with Dr. Rajashekharan, he cannot work for 3 hours and say that's the end of the day today. So find people of your profession who can guide you. Don't go on the internet and read psychology articles, because they're absolutely different what they're saying.
And I think, yeah.
And to the point that Yad made was, it's so important for any youngster to define what he or she envisages as being successful. Success is very different for every individual. And always remember, even a person like Michael Jordan, the moment he tried to go into a different profession than basketball, he was not successful. So you cannot be successful at everything. I mean, Dr. Rajashekharan is a fabulous surgeon and a fabulous orator, but I'm sure if one of the conferences he starts singing, then I don't know what's going to happen. So everyone cannot do everything.
I know what will happen. Everybody will.
But so let me advance a couple of more questions here. I know we could go on for hours, I'm sure, but I will be respectful of people's time, and maybe the next 5-10 minutes we'll kind of close this out. But have any of you, as like I'm speaking to those now who are more advanced in your career, we'd call you more the senior consultants, surgeons who have been mentoring. Have you, and I suspect you have, examples of where you have learned, like, we always assume that the knowledge transfer goes from the mentor to the mentee, but what have your mentees taught you? And how can you, if you're early in your career, help some of your mentors also, find more meaning in the work they're doing? And I speak to both sides, because I think we often think of it's a one-way channel of information, but I've learned many, many things from students about my own life and about how to balance my life better.
Anybody?
I think the priorities are different from the newer generations. I think you need to also learn from them. What we thought is dedication may mean different from them.
Yeah.
So I think there's some things to learn from the younger generation too.
Absolutely. Any other?
Probably nowadays the youngsters tend to value the input-output ratio as being more of an importance than we did. I mean, if for everything that they want to put in, they want to have an output to it. Our assessment of an output was a little vague. As long as we were working hard, it was fine. We just to say, like, the cost basis analysis was not done by us.
Right. So in some argument, you could say that they might look at us as saying, you're working for the sake of working, but I don't see where this is taking you, or I don't see, I must say there is a different visualization. And I'll speak to my 12-year-old. My 12-year-old will not do anything that does not have a very discrete deliverable directly for her personal benefit at this point, right? Which is, how will this help me be happier, right? And we often would say, just, work. You work hard and then happiness will come. But no, I'm happy. I want to be happy, and I want to make sure my life, however we define that, allows it to work.
Mohit, I have an answer for you. Answer for this. So your 12-year-old will look at what is in it for me if she has to do something, what you are telling her to do, but what is not passionate to her.
Yes.
Suppose she is interested in music and playing guitar.
Right.
I mean, she would play that without your prompt or whatever she wants to do. She will do it for hours together, no problem at all. So that is exactly what I mentioned in one of the slides. Your profession becomes work when you start at every point of time thinking, what is in it for me, for what I do this hour, this day, this week. You only need to look at on the large scale basis of it. Sometimes for weeks together, some research you do doesn't look anything that is going to transform. But if you start thinking, I worked from this Sunday to Monday, but nothing happened. I mean, that is going to be, you only have to put long-term goals. You need to know which are the long-term harvests, short-term harvests, and you need to have a clarity of that in your mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if I take anything away from what we've said, yes, and I'll get you 1 second. I'm going to get you 1 second here. Is that aligning people with their passions? I know in some ways it should be all of our jobs, right? And you should be looking in the mirror and saying, what am I driving? I keep being told I should do research, but I keep wanting to focus on clinical aspect of my patients. Well, maybe that's a message to you internally that your own internal drivers are telling you. And our job, I guess, should all of us around us should be help people find those passions and then help them accelerate, in their career paths along those lines. Dilip, you had something you wanted to say.
So I just want to say that in front of our lift at Ganga Hospital, there is a quote that there is no lift to success. There are stairs, and the stairs are hard work. I do certainly agree with the fact that hard work is the key for everything. But I just wanted to know from both of you that, especially from Professor, because he told that having a high aspiration and a low performance is risky. Now, what is the level of aspiration to keep for oneself, especially when you have a great person like Professor around you? What is the limit for that?
Yeah. So I think your goalpost must not be set very early in life, because then you're also running the risk of keeping the goalpost not how high you can go to. I have been asked many times, when you finish your post-graduation or when you left England to come back to India, did you ever imagine that you would create Ganga Hospital and will you be able to do a research and all that? If I say yes, I dreamt of it, it's a lie. Because you need to only keep your goalpost for the next 3 years. Because if you're going in a long, windy road, you don't look at the far destination. You only take the curves as it comes. So for a person like you, if you're in your 6th year of training or 7th year of training, you need to have you need to be the best person in that year of training, and you need to keep your goalpost only up to the next 3 years. By the time, many doors will open, because you can't imagine what will be your opportunities in 2025 now. So you need to set a short-term goal, and then at every single time you see what are all the opportunities available for you, and that will allow you to shift your goalpost higher and higher and higher. If you just imagine, if I had just imagined that I should be as good as my teacher, as my mentor, and not more, then that would have been restricting. If you think I should be Professor Rajshekharan when I am 58 or 60, then you are restricting yourself. So because when you are 58 or 60, the chances and the opportunities that you will have is with your exposure and with your opportunities must be something 6 times or 10 times more than what we have achieved. So don't restrict yourself with, you must have a long-term goal, but it's the short-term goals and you constantly moving that goal is what is going to make you achieve more.
I think I would add only one minor thing, and I'll reflect back to my own life, is that if you overplan, you become so restricted. It's like, a horse with blinders on. All you're seeing is ahead. And all these doors that are opening for you along the way, you don't see them. And if you don't see the open doors or have the openness to say, oh, that's an opportunity. I didn't think about this, but I'm going to approach it. You won't have that opportunity to grow. So growth really does come in many ways from being open to new ideas and open to new things. If you're so narrow that I must do this, I think you sometimes miss that. And I think if I look back on my life, there are times where I was so focused on something that I lost sight of everything else around me. And when I gave back the idea of, oh, you know what? If this door closes, maybe 3 more will open, but I'm going to be open to whatever happens and stay committed to what I like to do. If you do that, I think that is a pretty good pathway. And that doesn't mean that you have to plan decades in advance. I think, we always get told, what's your 5-year plan? And I always say, I have no idea what my 5-year plan is, but I can tell you what I'll do today and tomorrow. And you sort of work your way around that. But that's a very, very important message that I've learned anyway. We're nearing the end here. I just want to make sure, does anyone have a comment or a question you wanted to make sure you get a chance to ask some of the panelists or share with us?
can I make a comment, Mohit?
Yes,
This
please,
is
Lalit. Yes, yes,
Lalit from Delhi.
yes.
Thanks for getting this. It's an excellent topic to talk on. I've been working on one philosophy which is on raising and dropping the bar. So at times it becomes pretty taxing to jump the bar. So according to what you are in your work-life balance, you can keep getting it down and then again raising it back. And the other thing I keep my mentees, I keep asking them is that please tell me what is your weakness and what is your strength, because those are the two tools that you need to really sharpen, both the weakness and the strength. The strength is the one which you need to use very smartly, and the weakness is the one you need to know, and that is the one which you actually develop and keep sort of working on your bar.
So let me ask you one follow-up, Lalit, and I'll ask
Yeah.
others this as well. When you ask a trainee what their weakness and their strengths are, how often do you believe they have true insight? Because sometimes we lie to ourselves about what we think our strengths are and when we're afraid to really acknowledge our true weaknesses. How can we help sometimes? And I find sometimes people are a bit disconnected from that because they haven't ever had real input as to their
Yes,
strengths and weaknesses.
Mohit, that's an excellent observation. I think 9 out of the 10 times the mentee doesn't come out with the answer on the first attempt. And I know that. Since I know that, I tell them, this is your homework. Go back home, watch a movie, watch a match, and think about it. What is your weakness and what is your strength? And come back. And to my surprise, the three mentees which have joined with me just now, one came back with the thought that my strength is playing the guitar. The other one came back that I would be very good at painting. And third one said that I am an expert in gaming. So to my surprise, their research work has been attached to music, painting, and gaming.
Which are all very creative pursuits,
Yeah.
which in many ways allows them to be successful in other things they do because it helps you think differently. So
So you need to give them time to sort of think, go back, and maybe one trainee will come back in one time, and one might not come. He might take 6 months to come out with the answer.
Superb. Listen, I can't thank you all enough for spending some time with us today. I would like to thank you all on behalf of Ortho Evidence and thank all the panelists. Thank you all, because fundamentally, all of you who have contributed are panelists today. I might leave the last word to, of course, our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Rajashekharan. I'll leave you with the last word.
Thank you, Mohit. This was a very nice session. I just would like to tell, we once asked one of the elderly persons about what is his opinion about work-life balance. And he said, so long as you think work is different, life is different, then I'm not even interested in talking about it. Let me talk to you only if you think that work and life are the same. And he said, only people who have been able to assimilate work and life together and not keep both of them separate, they are the persons who have achieved quite a lot. So if you want to be an achiever in life, you need to somehow resolve the conflict of work and life as two different entities in your mind. And when I say you, it not only means you as an individual, but you as a family. So maybe you need to discuss with the family and also try to make some sacrifices here and there in different aspects, but then come to a good consolidated ambition and goals, and then there would not be a problem. So I don't think work and life should be two different things where you have to balance. We should aim for a work-life assimilation together.
On that note, thank you all for a wonderful session, and we look forward to chatting with you again in the near future. And we'll have this video and we'll have this distributed widely once we have everything organized. Thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your day.